All right, we're live. What's up, party people? It's Sunny, the Sunny Ray Show. Thanks to our host, or sorry, our sponsors, Raz Rocket and GTM Ventures. Today I'm joined by Kevin Zang. Kevin and I met, I want to say what, 5 years ago, was it, Kevin?
I actually think it might be a little bit more than that,
More than that,
but
right?
the thing is, like, time doesn't feel like the same in the crypto world. Like, a month is like a year, and it's hard to sort of like quantify time in this industry.
But what I do remember is you were in a different world when I met you. If are we allowed to mention the bank's name? Let's just call it one of the top five Canadian banks, right? It was at your home. Are you comfortable mentioning who it was?
Yeah, yeah, that's not a problem. I think if you dig it up, you'll probably find it at some point.
So TD Bank, right?
That's right. That's right.
Cool. So what were you doing there when I met you?
Good question. I was actually working on foreign exchange systems at TD. And then, funny enough, I transitioned over to their blockchain team probably a few months after that, and was the first technical blockchain hire at TD when they had a small group of people start looking at the technology. And this was like back in 2015. So it's been a while.
Dang. So I mean, so we're gonna talk about, I guess, Paytrie, right? You guys are essentially Canada's home for stablecoins. We're gonna talk about Loon. You're a founder of these companies. You've been doing great work. I guess you were telling me that it's the leading stablecoin in Canada now, which is insanely impressive. I'm sure we're gonna talk about the Genius Act and all the crazy stuff that's happening around stablecoins around the world. But before we do, Kevin, do you want to maybe share a little bit more about kind of like your background before you even maybe got into TD Bank? What was like, I don't know, what were your interests? I'm also curious, what your worldview of, I guess, just money was. I mean, now that you're into obviously Bitcoin and crypto and stable coins and all that, but yeah, but where are you coming from? What's your kind of backstory?
Yeah, so graduated from the University of Waterloo, studied engineering. Honestly, I thought I was gonna be working in either, I don't know, maybe like Silicon Valley, something like that. Like all my classmates, all my roommates ended up in the Bay Area. I decided to stay local in Canada, and I went and worked at TD Bank. And again, like I was working on a foreign exchange system, which is funny because it's sort of come a little bit full circle. Because right now I'm looking to build like on-chain FX systems using stable coins like our Canadian dollar, CAD-C, and USDC. So things that I've learned like decade ago is sort of coming right back and apply that kind of knowledge using blockchain and crypto and DeFi. So it's actually like, quite interesting how that sort of came to be. Never expected that to be the case, but it's just like, the unique combination of, I guess, like skill and background has really led me to where we are today. And it's funny how over the last like 12 months, like people are really starting to talk about non-US dollar stable coins. Governments from around the world are loosening up regulations, enabling currencies around the world to be tokenized. And when you have tokenized currencies from around the world, you need a way to sort of transact with them. And foreign exchange is very logical to have on chain. But yeah, I also did a few years at Consensus. So Consensus was founded by Joseph Lubin, one of the co-founders of Ethereum. And that's where I met my co-founder, Henry, and we started Paytrie back in 2019 from learnings and things that we've seen in the industry while we were at Consensus. And one of the big catalysts for us starting Paytrie was actually QuadrigaCX. Like Canada's biggest exchange at the time, a lot of Canadians bought and held crypto at Quadriga, lost it all. And we were like, hey, there's got to be a better way to buy and sell and manage and use cryptocurrency. And we're like, okay, let's create a non-custodial way of doing that. And we've done it with Paytrie, allowing Canadians to buy and sell stable coins without us holding it. You are the custodian, and we're just the middleman that transacts in the middle, helping you convert between Canadian dollars and crypto.
That's fascinating. So wait, Kevin, if you got in that early, what was your first exposure to this industry? I mean, stablecoins weren't even around back then, right? You mentioned Joseph Lubin and
No.
Ethereum, but like, did you get in even pre-Ethereum, right?
It was actually right around the time when Ethereum launched. So I was developing on like very early versions of like Solidity. Things they weren't called like tokens or anything. They were called colored coins at that time. Like I don't know if you remember
Of
that.
course I remember.
Yeah,
Yanni, I think, is one of the authors of that, along with Amos, right? Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. But that was Bitcoin. That wasn't Ethereum.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Or like
was
it
Bitcoin
wasn't
your
even.
first was Bitcoin your first exposure to the space then?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's
Oh,
the same
cool.
for many
So
people
talk about
at the
that because
time.
I mean we're gonna obviously talk about stable coins. I'm super actually pumped about stable coins, but talk a little bit about Bitcoin because that is one of the I don't know central topics of my podcast is obviously my obsession with Bitcoin. But why on earth did Bitcoin even interest you? I mean you're coming out of Waterloo, one of the top schools in the world. You're working for TD Bank. You've got it all figured out. What made you stop in your tracks?
It's really, really funny because like my first like real exposure to Bitcoin was back when I was still at University of Waterloo. I was actually interning at a company in Silicon Valley. It was like a medium-sized company, and one of my colleagues, he was mining Bitcoin. So this other engineer in the valley, he's native from San Francisco, and then he went to me, "Hey, you're Canadian, right?" There's this guy I'm trying to buy this Bitcoin miner from, but he's based in Ottawa. Like, how do I do it? Can I get it from you? Can I, buy it from you? Can you help me ship it from like Ottawa to like San Francisco? Apparently, there was someone in Ottawa that was, you know, uh, dealing like ant miners or Bitcoin miners at the time, and he was one of the main guys in North America. So it was funny. I was actually helping him, with a package and shipping miners from like Canada to to the US, and that was actually my first like major exposure to crypto and really understanding like what is going on. And I think this was back in like 2021 or 2022 at the time. And yeah, really just it stuck with me over time. And when Ethereum came out, I think that's when things like really like blew my mind and was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna change things.
And then it's so interesting because you said Paytrie is a non-custodial stablecoin exchange. So that's or not an exchange, but it's more like a brokerage, I guess. Or what is like the technical term for it?
Yeah, it's we call it on off ramp. We don't hold the funds for you, and that's why it's like non-custodial. But yeah, that's so the way that we operate.
And what's that journey been like? Like to start a company in this space? Like I said, I remember our first meeting when you just started Paytree and it was a new idea. And then here you are, right? Years later. So just talk a little bit about that. Like what were some of the challenges and how did you guys overcome them?
Tough. It's
Yeah,
tough.
right? Like
Building in the crypto space. Banking regulations. Bear market, bull market, like there's not a lot of consistency in the space. The other thing is like the markets are 24/7. Like they never stop, and we help people move money in and out of crypto. The markets can be very very volatile on evenings, weekends, holidays, whatever it is, and we're tasked to help people move the funds really quickly because again like money is at risk here, like the timing matters when the market moves. So we sometimes we help people like prevent themselves from getting liquidated because they have loans or positions and stuff like
right.
that. So it's very important that we, our systems are up and running 24/7. Things are, working properly. But at the end of the day, I think the toughest part of building in the space, especially in like the regulated part of it, is banks don't love to touch crypto. So getting a banking partner that's able to sort of like service you is very hard, especially in Canada. And the other part is like they're very like we I think Patri pioneered this back in about 2019, 2020. We were one of the first people to automate interact request money transfers and allow Canadians to sort of utilize this feature to buy basically anything. At the time, we even had to screen scrape our bank's portal and like create bots and like agents and stuff that would simulate the transaction on the banking portal just to sort of create these experiences that made it look like you're creating native interact e-transfers and so forth. Uh, these days we have APIs and stuff like that. Like back then that didn't exist, and the whole premise of interact request money transfer were very new at that time. But it's becoming more and more common and almost an industry standard in terms of like being able to fund through interact e-transfers and buy crypto these days.
Wow, that's crazy, dude. I can only imagine. Hey, so something happened south of the border recently, right? And now all of a sudden, crypto's gone from like super niche, underground, whatever you want to call it, right? Weirdos, to all of a sudden, what the most powerful country in the world, at least that's the one I've been told was, is now embracing stablecoins, especially like. What? Like, what happened? Like, what happened? And I guess what's happening here, north of the border? Like, are we keeping up? Have we gotten the notice yet? Or are we still like kind of got our heads buried in the ground, like hoping it'll all go away or something?
I think the like what happened about a year ago, it was the whole like 180 from what we've seen like the past like 4 or 5 years in the crypto industry. It was a very, very hostile environment. Before that with SEC, like pursuing every crypto company that could lay his hands on, and really made it tough to do business in the US, the crypto company. It was like everything was offshore. No one wanted to accept US users. It was not great to be, you know, essentially dealing with the US during that time. And because of that, I think the rest of the world took notice too. So it made it hard to create crypto companies around the world and like regulated ones, especially. Um, but then things obviously changed about a year ago, and now it's like full steam ahead. Like we see companies like, for example, Polymarket that was before like in a very, very hostile environment be, deca unicorns and so forth. And prediction markets have been like one of the biggest winners in this sort of regulatory shift down south. And in Canada, like we're seeing a little bit of that shift north of the border, mainly from the Canadian budget that passed, or to be fair, has not passed yet, but announced back in February, or sorry, November of 2025, the Stablecoin Act was included in the Canadian budget. And that was a huge signal that Canada is going to be involved in this new online economy. And we are willing to defend our position and the Canadian dollar in this global arena, because right now only US dollar stablecoins are really prevalent, and that forces Canadians to hold US dollars even if they don't want to. So we need to find a way to be entrenched in this economy and have the Canadian dollar represented.
That's fascinating. The Canadian dollar. So from what I hear, the United States almost views this as like an interesting opportunity to take over the world, right? In some ways, like it's like, okay, well, we got stable coins and it's like a safety raft for, countries like Venezuela perhaps or whatnot. In fact, my first ever podcast like years ago was Mauricio, the founder of Ledin, right? These guys are out of Canada or started out of Canada. But like what's like is that I mean you might not even want to comment on this, but like the geopolitical situation is this like a response to that? Um is Canada thinking more in terms of like we need to also have like the whole world using the Canadian dollar, or is it more just like, hey, let's get, Canadians using it?
So I think it's a little bit of both. So we need to defend our position at the very minimum, but we will also want to be on the offensive, and we want to sort of export the Canadian dollar as much as we can as well. Right now, the U.S. is able to export the U.S. dollar to emerging markets, allowing those, I guess, those countries, those citizens, like outside of the U.S. to hold the U.S. dollar without a U.S. bank account, and that's a very, very powerful thing. And once they are using a stablecoin, they're essentially holding US debt. And the US loves that. And they're like offshoring all their debt to the rest of the world.
Is it true to say that the stable coin, the USDC and USDT on top of Ethereum is the most popular and most prevalent?
If you're looking at the stats, that's definitely true. Like the most
So
amount
isn't it
of
ironic that that
yeah.
was literally coded in like the basement of all the Canadian banks, essentially, like at the corner of what was it? I mean, I saw it being written in front of my face, right, with Bitcoin Decentral leading the charge and all that. But isn't that funny that like we're talking about winning back the USD's whatever stable coin market, yet all of that tech stack is technically Canadian born?
Yeah, that the whole infrastructure, like you think about like Ethereum as like a product, it is essentially Canadian born, and we don't say that enough because the innovation, the people around it, were very much Canadian. A lot of the co-founders were and are Canadian, and we need to shut that louder and make people realize that like we have great talent, and this is the technology that came grassroots from Canada, essentially. Vitalik, Joseph Lubin, Anthony Delorio, like there's tons and tons of great talent with ties to Canada that we don't talk about enough.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So do you feel welcome here? I mean, you're one of those innovative business entrepreneurial minds, right? Building a big company in this space. Waterloo, right? The most sought after school, like in the valley and whatnot. I'm just wondering, like, what do you feel the love, or is it growing over time, would you say, or is it diminishing?
I want to shine a light in terms of like Canada and our talent and our innovation. At the end of the day, one thing that was at the top of our minds when we were raising our pre-seed round for our Canadian dollar stablecoin is that we want to focus and like we exclusively raise from Canadian funds and angels. We want this to be a Canadian product for Canada. We want to build it for Canadians. We want to build this as a Canadian product, and all our employees, our infrastructure, everything is based in Canada, and we really are proud that we're able to do that and really fully focus, I guess, our resources as the homegrown product.
Yeah, it's inspiring. I mean, Cold Card, CoinKite, those guys are from here, right? I mean, there you can go on. Ledin, I think we mentioned them earlier,
Yeah.
right? So I think when Wonderfi recently got acquired, so Canada is definitely doing some great things, and yeah. So tell us a little bit about a little bit more about you talked a little bit about Paytrie, right? If there's anything else you want to touch on, happy to hear it. But talk a little bit about Loon as well and what you guys are working on there.
Yeah, I think we're looking to bring a mass market Canadian dollar stablecoin into Canada and the rest of the world. We think that Canada is a very important country and current like the Canadian dollar is a very important currency. And ultimately, to get it started, we're working from DeFi outward. So we are looking to sort of create DeFi primitives using our stablecoin and infrastructure, like building on decentralized exchanges and lending and borrowing protocols, and working with like the rest of the DeFi industry as sort of the initial foundation part of our stablecoin. And then as that part grows, I think we get closer and closer, like we move up the stack a little bit into like the TradFi world, and then we get more sort of like fintechs involved, the ones that generally don't touch crypto, for example. We have quite a few of those great companies in Canada, but they should be using stablecoins. They should be using blockchain rails, and essentially we get companies that are building around sort of like a DeFi mullet where you have DeFi in the background and sort of like TradFi or CeFi in the foreground. You get mobile apps, you get like, traditional Web 2 interfaces, but it's really powered by like DeFi primitives. And you saw like we see this happening, sort of like what Coinbase is doing in a lot of ways with let's just say Bitcoin lending. So people can collateralize their Bitcoin on Coinbase with CB BTC and borrow against it directly on the Coinbase website, but it's actually powered in the background by Morpho, for example. And Morpho is a multi-billion-dollar lending and borrowing protocol on Coinbase's base network. So we're gonna. I hope to see more and more of that, and more of that being built out in Canada, and these primitives and playbook be sort of exported around the world.
Amazing. So Kevin, maybe help us land the plane. Tell us, I guess, where people can learn more about you, your company, the different projects you're part of. Do you blog somewhere? Where do you, yeah,
Mostly
share?
on like LinkedIn and Twitter. Those are probably the two main platforms. Both. You can find me at Kevin Zang TO. So proud to be part of the Toronto community. And if you're looking to move funds between fiat and crypto, go check out Patri.com. And if you're looking for a Canadian dollar stablecoin, look out for Loon.finance.
Very cool. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for your time. Yeah, we'll bring this one to a close. Just hang out for a sec.